Hey there, my name's Curtis Lucas and you're watching Empire Building. There is an important topic I really wanted to cover in this video. As the thumbnail suggests, I'm talking about a fear of heights. And as anyone with a fear of heights would quickly point out, it's not the height that they're afraid of, it's falling from it. And I think that pretty much sums up the way a vast majority of the investors in this sector feel, especially within the stocks themselves for these Bitcoin mining companies. It's also been fairly prevalent in the Bitcoin sector itself, but it's pretty clear that Bitcoin is far less volatile as it once was. And I attribute this to the institutional investors that have been entering this space in a very public way. And the thing you need to realize about these investors is that they have far steadier hands than your average retail investor. What's more important to them is that they accumulate. They're not interested in so much swing trading. All they want is more Bitcoin. You have to stop and realize that acquiring Bitcoin in the quantities that Michael Saylor is interested in is no easy feat. So once they've accumulated it, they have no interest in getting rid of it. Reacquiring it is far scarier than suffering a 50% drop, especially when it's fairly clear that we are at the start of a bull run. But all right, I get it. I understand. It's painfully obvious that the blockchain stocks do not share this characteristic with Bitcoin. They still swing violently. And it can make your stomach turn when you see these gains suddenly evaporate. How does one deal with this psychological imbalance? Every investor is a little bit different, but I think this frame of mind is something that almost everyone can relate to. Let's say you enter a position and the first thing it does is drop. Many speculative investors usually have no problem holding on to a position that's currently down. If they're following the cost average model, they simply just add more and wait. But that frame of mind changes quickly when those numbers turn from red to green. Seeing a red number drop is much easier than seeing a green number drop. This is a very strange psychological phenomenon. People lose more sleep when they're making money than when they're losing money. Now, I've thought about this a great deal, and I think I may have honed in on what the problem is. And that has to do with the value you put on that money. What your motivations were for investing in the first place. What are your plans? Because in my opinion, it's not the money you're afraid of losing. It's the dream you've tied to that money. Every time the number goes down, you feel like that dream is being pulled away from you. It can also affect you if the money that you've chosen to invest with is money that you simply cannot do without. Ask yourself this question. Is it important to you that the stock price go up because you need to buy groceries next month or pay your rent? Maybe you have a car that might need servicing. Are you financially secure enough that regardless of the outcome, you won't find yourself strapped? This is where you find the fine line between investing and gambling. There are many out there who look at speculative stocks as just pure gambling. And in many cases, that might be true. But I think that your motivations play a big part in determining which is true for you. And this is something that I grapple with a lot because I myself was a gambler. I myself am a gambler. It's been years for me since I've gone through that. But that experience forced me to take a good, hard look at my motivations. But as a side benefit, it has numbed me to the emotional roller coaster that you typically find yourself on when these stocks really start to move in both directions. So the point I'm making here is you should always check yourself. If we wake up tomorrow and Bitcoin is $30,000, are you excited or are you terrified? Because in both cases, you'd be prone to make the wrong decision. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking profits. I recognize that I myself have been irresponsibly long for quite some time, but it certainly has paid off. I have been thinking it might be time to scrape a little off the top just to put it aside as my little safety net. I've already come a very long way. For some of you, that might not be true. You might have just arrived. But it also means that the money you've chosen to invest with should be money you have no need for in the short term. If that's not true, then you should reevaluate your decisions. Anything can happen next, and yes, there could be a significant pullback on Bitcoin. And if or when that happens, this entire sector will get destroyed. That's a fact. Bitcoin could drop all the way back down to $20,000 and still be well within the limits of a bull market. But ask yourself this, do you think someone like Michael Saylor would be selling in a scenario like that? Or do you think he'd just simply buy more? How many other billionaires do you think would jump on that opportunity? That's not to say that that fall won't be exceptionally painful for the blockchain stocks, but in my opinion, it would be short-lived. So I would focus instead on not the money you lose, but simply the time spent in the market. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the famous saying, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. This has been true with Bitcoin since its inception. And this brings me to my next point. How much do you know about Bitcoin? What do you know about the technology? What makes it special? Are you convinced that this is inevitable? Have you used the technology for yourself? Can you envision a future where this technology becomes prevalent? Or do you even know what that technology is? I'm sure you've heard the term blockchain, and maybe you think you understand what it is and what it does. But why does it even matter? What could it possibly do for us that our current systems don't already provide? I fell in love with this technology because I realized that for the first time in human existence, we are going to witness a fundamental shift in how we conduct our lives. This isn't just digital money. This is way bigger than that. And you only have to watch CNBC for 5 minutes to realize we are still in the very early innings here. Bitcoin just passed $500 billion. Do you know what that makes it? Adorable. Bitcoin is a baby. It's a quarter the size of the market cap of Apple. We're talking about a worldwide revolution, a disruption to the fundamental way that we can exchange value, introducing efficiencies that we never dreamed were possible. This is what the internet did when it first started to surface. It was clumsy at first, but once we had developed the infrastructure, it tore down barriers, one after the other, allowing our economic efficiencies to grow leaps and bounds. If it wasn't for the power of the internet, there's no way we could have the strength of the economy that we enjoy today. Just think of all the things that you can do at the click of a mouse button. Now compare that power to the current banking model. If there's anyone out there who currently runs a business, ask yourself this question. What is the primary way that you pay people? And I don't just mean your employees, but in some cases even those. Well, you've got a few options. Visa, MasterCard, e-transfers, but both are limited in the amount that you're allowed to pay. Any sizable business settles most of their transactions with a check. Yes, in the year 2020, the primary method of payment is a check, which takes 5 days just to clear. It blows my mind that at this day and age, this is still the best thing we've got. Honestly, it's embarrassing. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So think about what the internet was able to do for information, open borders, the velocity and efficiency of our economy. Imagine what sort of growth and opportunity will present itself when money becomes unshackled, when its velocity becomes unlimited, and you will be able to transact with anybody you want, anywhere in the world, any time of day or night. You won't need to know who they are. They won't need to know who you are. You won't need to trust them, and they won't need to trust you. But you will still be able to transact without requiring a third party to give you permission to do so and charge you for that privilege. This is true power. This is why I'm in this. And when you think in terms like that, movements week to week suddenly don't mean a damn thing anymore. And you start to realize we're still at the base of this mountain. So if you do have a fear of heights, you might want to get off because it's going to get a lot worse. And it's not going to be a nice smooth ride on the way up. If any of you are wondering where you should go to get educated about this technology, I highly recommend Andreas Antonopoulos. As far as I'm concerned, he is the foremost leader in explaining this technology to beginners and experts. I'm going to leave a few links down in the description to videos that I'm sure will blow your mind if you haven't really dug into this technology. And you'll walk away with an entirely new perspective about what is happening right in front of our eyes. So this was a little bit of a different video than I usually do, but occasionally I feel like there's just something that needs to be said. Try to be responsible out there. Don't overextend yourself. Make sure that whatever you've got on the table, you can afford to do without. And always manage your risk. If you got any value out of this video, then I invite you to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to get back to doing a lot more deep dives into the various companies. As I've mentioned, they do take time to produce and research so that I'm providing you with the best possible value that I can. For those of you that have already joined, thank you for your subscription, and I look forward to growing this community. That's all for this one. Now let's get back to empire building. Bye.